So, uh, hello guys, good morning. And thank you so much for being here to attend our presentation here today. And also we are so honored to be here to share the information, also some story about what happened in China and what is going on about the niche fragrance market in China. So today, like the speaker is gonna be two. It's gonna be by me. I'm Xinxin, the Executive Vice President and co-founder of Perexpo. And my partner, Song. She's the founder, also CEO of the Perexpo company. So I'm gonna introduce the outline for today. We're gonna have four main parts today. The first part, we're gonna introduce who are we. So basically you have better understanding who are we. The second part is about what's going on in China, about some data and about some case study, like some database. And the third part is we are talking about how can expert do for you guys. So as a company, what can we do for all of you, for niche brands especially. And the last part is about case study. This is the most interesting part. I'm going to share later for the end. So now I'm going to share and pass the floor to my colleague and to the founder of Perexpo. So she's going to talk about the first part. So welcome.
Thank you for Xinxin, and I'm Song Yuan from China. I think before the presentation, I want to give more information about myself because I saw some new friends here, maybe curious about me. I am, I think for 10 years, I'm a niche perfume collector, always. I think I can still remember the moment that I smell Artisan Parfumeur, I think 12 years ago in France, and I feel that, oh, it's quite different from the commercial brand, you know? So I feel this is a quite new category for the artist to create something we never have. So I try to collect the perfumes that I love. So I'm a niche perfume collector for about 10 years and a real lover, and I'm also a writer. I write for Vogue China for a special column for niche perfumes. For niche perfumes for about 10 years already. And I published my book in 2017 about niche perfume. I think it's the first book that introduced the niche perfume brands in China. And until now, I think I have more than 1,000 niche perfumes in my house, and I put some of them in my office. This is my office. And I write for Vogue special columns, and this is my book, Niche Life with Niche Perfume. At the meantime, I just do the niche perfume stuffs in my spare time because I'm a businesswoman in financial industry for, I think, more than 10 years. I work in the financial industry and private equity industry in China, and I'm quite, familiar with how to do business in China, quite familiar. So what I want to say here is that I think point 1 plus point 2 will be the foundation of doing good niche perfume business in China. First, you have to wholly understand what is art, what is niche perfume. And for second, you have to know how to run a business. So I founded Perexpo, I think in 2016 as a niche perfume group, the first niche perfume group in China. So who are we? This is a very simple question. In April 2016, we published the book Niche Perfume, Niche Life with Niche Perfume. I think it's from this book most of the Chinese real consumers for niche perfumes know the brand that we usually mention in different occasions. I write about 18 niche brands in my book, such as some of them are no more niche in this time. For example, Jo Malone and something else. And I wrote James Healy. I wrote Maison Francis Coquelin, and some other brands. And in September the same year, we launched a platform called SendPage. This is, I think, well known for people here. But this is a subscription platform. Use this platform, what we want to do is to educate the market. Because, you know, the consumers in China, very, you know, initial stage of for consuming the niche perfumes. So we have to make them know what is niche perfume and what is the difference between the niche and the commercial brand. And in May, the next year, I mean 2017, we launched our second business called Minohide. It's a French. And it's an online to offline platform to sell the niche perfumes, the big bottle, I mean the orange bottle. It's cross-border e-commerce mode. I will explain it later. And in July the same year, Minohide not only a retailer but became a distributor. I can say that we are the biggest distributor now for niche perfumes, and we only do niche in the country. And in September, we opened the first boutique. You know, this is not the traditional boutique because we have some other problems. Just now, later, I think my colleague Xinxin will mention. It's experience boutique. It's more like a niche perfume art space. People can try and feel the perfumes and atmosphere there, and then buy the perfume online. So this is an offline to online platform. And we have the very big, I think 200 square meters space in Shanghai City, very downtown area, M50 art zone. And very recently, this year, January, we launched the third business called Shaode Trade. And this is, it is fun for to lend the brands into the very high-end shopping malls in China. So we are per-expo, per-expo. So it's a mixed word. And we have three different parts: SendPage for subscription, and Minohide for the online to offline retail, and Shaode for the traditional trading part, and to open the counters and boutiques instead of the brands in the shopping malls in China. We have I invest a lot in this company, but we also have some external investors. I think totally we invest about $300 million to this company. So we do a lot of things that never been done in the country. So people are curious about what's going on and what happened in China, in Chinese market, and especially for the niche and artistic perfume brands. And I should say that it is a very good time, or it's the right time to enter this market for about several reasons. We are experiencing a trend called the consumption upgrading. This is a very big trend in the whole society, not only in the perfume industry. So people tend to choose something that's better than they ever have. So that's the chance for the niche perfume, I think. I think this trend has three motivations from different dimensions of the society. For the most important part is the new demands. I mean, people who don't use perfume in their daily life in the past, they are trying to use perfume in their daily life now. So this is a very big change, I think. I can give you some numbers. I think in 2014, the percentage of total population is only 1% of people are using perfume at that time. But the number has come to, I think, 2.2% in 2006. This is a very big change. You know, the foundation of the population in China is huge. It's 1.3 billion people. So we have another motivation of the consumption upgrading called structural adjustment. That means people who use a commercial brand in the past, now they are trying to have some niche brands because they have more choice in the market. And for the third motivation is multi-choices demands. How to understand it? I mean that in the past, maybe one person just have one bottle of perfume. And she used it in every locations. But now things are changing. They turn to have 10 bottles, 100 bottles. Why? Because they want to use different perfumes in different occasions. They think this is a kind of polite. Yes? So I think for these three motivations, I think this is the right time to enter the market. But enter the market is not that easy. Okay, let's see the market structure of nowadays China. We have fundamentally two parts. The first part is online part. The other is offline part. For online part is very rapid growth business. And also we have two modes, I think, generally. The first is legal mode, and the other is a gray area. For the legal mode, you have to do your registration of your production to the government first. Otherwise, you can only take the without registration mode. That means you can have a cross-border e-commerce. What's the meaning? You can have your warehouse in Hong Kong, in Paris, in anywhere else, and you just directly deliver the perfume to the consumer's house. This is a directly deliver. And the second is bonded warehouse. It's the same meaning, we have some special tax-free zones in China, I think 12 or 13 now. You can have a warehouse in the bonded area, and you can directly ship your perfume to your consumers. So we do both of these two modes in China. This is the only two legal way to operate the distribution and retailing online without registration. Remember this. Okay, we also have the gray area. I think all of the world is the same. Also have some gray areas. It's mainly on Taobao.com or some other, eBay-like website. And also smuggling is quite, seriously there. So we don't recognize the brand, especially for niche brand, because reputation is quite important for the brand, If you do something smuggling and, punished by the government, it's disaster to your brand. So we don't recognize you to do this, although if it is a small scale business, it's totally okay. But you have to think more about it becomes, a very big scale. Okay, let's look into the online market parts. We have I just said legal mode and register, at least some registered brand already, like Jo Malone, if you still recognize Jo Malone as a niche brand, whatever, and Diptyque, and Atelier Cologne, Aqua di Parma, and Creed. And without registration part, we have some comprehensive, lifestyle websites, including Minokide here, us. And we have other platforms called the Bistro, like the Bistro, the Red Book, and the Tmall Global. They are operating in the cross-border e-commerce mode. It's totally legal. And for bonded warehouse, I think we are maybe the only player here because it costs a lot to build a real warehouse in that area, and the logistics systems also cost quite a lot. And I think the pros and cons of the different ways of operation is quite obvious. It's very high constructional cost for warehouse and systems, and you need a qualification requirements from the government. Import and export authority is very complex, I should say. For the gray mode, I just mentioned about the harms about the gray mode, and I'll go further. Okay, let's talk about the offline market. I think this is a real market we call real market in China, because everything, you know, especially for perfume, if you can't smell, you can't decide whether you like it, or you know, you even can't decide whether you want to buy it. So we considered offline market as the mainstream market in China for niche perfumes. So we also have two different modes. The first is single brand boutique and the department store counter. I think this is the mainstream mode for the key players. The key players are Diptyque, Acqua di Parma, Atelier Cologne, Creed, Maison Francis Kirk Jean is a newcomer in 2018, and some other local brands, and Jo Malone, of course. And you have another mode. You can enter a multi-brand buyer's shop, or we call select shop. We have some select shop here, Space NK, St. Library, Tenkos Como, Shanghai, and Land Crawford. But I think if you want to go to these two different operation ways, the first thing is to register your production to the government. Remember this. So in this offline market operation, you will have very high registration cost. You will have very high rental fee for the shopping mall. And I think the niche brands merged by the big group can manage to do this. But we are trying to do something, you know, new mode to change this situation. My colleague Xinxin will mention later. And I give a very estimated market share of the 4 key players in China. Jo Malone, of course, the biggest, and here comes Diptyque, and Atelier Cologne, and Acqua di Parma. And I think we can draw a lesson from Diptyque, because I still recognize Diptyque as a niche perfume brand, and it's very successful in China. And Diptyque went to China in around 2014 to 2015. And they opened boutiques in Beijing, Shanghai, and Chengdu, 3 cities. And currently, they have boutiques and counters for about 12. And this is the estimated revenue from Praxipul's research team. We can see that in the first year, 2014, they have 2.5 million euro per year for revenue. And it jumped to doubled in the second year. It's 5 million euro. And give another doubled to the third year, another doubled to the fourth year. So it's very rapid growth. And I think from the Diptyque case and our experience to operating the niche brands in China, we can give some not criteria but elements of the so-called popularity. I don't like this word. So-called, I think it's a kind of balance between the artistic part and the business. So what are the key elements for your business, your successful business in China? I think the most important one is the concept, is the inspiration. I think all of you think this is hard to understand, but I recognize I don't like fake stories, and consumers don't like it as well, unfortunately. So we need details. We need why this perfume is born to this world, not rubbish. We need something unique. We need something splendid, right? And for the second element, I think is the note. What is the note? I gave some investigations of our perfume lovers, our users, and you can see that not as your imagination, fruity, floral. No, they are not the favorite notes in China now. Now, I think Chinese people prefer green notes and citrus, water, and woody. I don't know why. I just, show some results of the investigation. And we can see that fruity also have some, fence. And for floral, and for oriental, it's very tricky. Oriental means Asia, but Asian people don't like oriental note. Yeah, and the dry wood and ship. Okay, let's back to the key elements. So for the note, I think I would say that you'd better have a complete note, I mean different notes, instead of just only one or two notes of your creations, because you have to make, more people, like it or feel, okay, they can feel the atmosphere behind your creations. For the third element, I think, is the uniqueness. I think it's very easy to understand. If it's not unique, they are, trying to buy some commercial brands. It's also okay, but yeah, after you give the uniqueness, you can have the premium of your production, your brand. And the last but not least, the packaging. I think it's quite obvious. We need dedicated and very fine packaging bottles. So, this is the last slide of my presentation. I think I want to say something very value proposition, our standpoint. At Principle, as a group now, we think that first, we want to do let niche be niche. We don't think going a very huge quantity is the right direction for each niche brand. So we are finding the balance point for each brand we acting. Now we are acting 23 brands, I think, niche brands. And what's the balance quantity for this brand we are thinking of? And the second, our value proposition, the second is selling perfume, is selling artwork, not soaps, not toothbrush, something like that. It's not functional at all. It's just something you feel, and you feel happy, you feel sorrow, you feel any other kinds of, emotions. So we don't just easily say that, oh, our perfume is good. It's not good. It's too simple, I think. We just let them to feel in our very big salon experiencing boutique, and to let them discover themselves. And for the third value proposition, I think we are choosing our partners and retailers very prudently. So yes, this is quite important as well. So these are all the contents that I can offer, I think, from this presentation. And for the remaining time, I'll give it to my dear colleague, Xinxin. I think he will give some more insights of the perfume industry in China. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Song, for the background information and for all those data information. So for the second part, I'm actually telling about what can we offer, actually. As per Expo, as a company, how can we offer for all the brand of use? So the first part, because enter Chinese market officially, back to the previous content, like Song mentioned, you have to enter China market like in a legal way. Two part, cross-border business, e-commerce, or you can register brand for the retailing. It's more like traditional retailing, apartment store or boutique in China. So basically what it means like officially is more or less like a passport or ID card for you, for your brand to enter China market officially. So we can work free and sell free in this country. So what kind of like materials or criteria you need for this kind of registration. It's quite complicated. I only point out 7 main points. There still remain a lot of points have to be shown, but this is really complicated. I'm gonna only mention 3 main parts because currently we're also doing 1 or 2 brands for the registration in China at this moment. So the first part is about trademark registration in China mainland. You have to keep this really in the mind because trademark registration in China sometimes can be registered by someone else or by some other company. So you have to make sure your trademark is already registered in China before you enter China market. Otherwise, for the later coming or later enter China market, it's gonna take a long time to get your trademark back. And the second part is about food recipes, ingredients. I know a lot of brands or perfumer, they don't really like to share this kind of information to the public. But don't worry, because for these, it's only for the custom, only for the authority. It's no one else gonna take these ingredients and recipes. So this is very high confidential, so don't worry about this. And the third part is about the number 7, is about the sample. The people are gonna ask, so how many bottles should I offer for the registration? In general, we take 18 bottles, but 14 to 15 bottles for the test usage, but also 1 bottle sample for the preservation, and also the other one for the damage in case. So in case we have some damaged bottles during the transportation, so we have more for the test. So that's in general the materials required for the registration process. So people are going to ask, so how long does it take and how much that does it take? So from our experience at this moment, so the total process is going to be around 8 to 12 months for 1 single brand to enter China market for the registration process. And how much does it cost? This is the number we paid already, so I'm going to share the real number. So for the test cost, it's like 625 euro for each single product, like each single fragrance. And that's not all. And then secondly, because we are not the professional team or office or the consultancy to do this kind of thing. So in that case, we have to hire an agency. So we have to pay them 600 euro per 1 product. So in general, we have to pay 1,200 euro roughly for each single product to enter China market. And keep in mind, only allows for 4 years. So after 4 years, you have to renew, but not paying the cost. But I mean, everything has to renew. So when your products reach to 3.5 years, you have to reapply again. So that's something, it's quite tricky in China. It's not like forever, yeah. So now I will go a bit deeper about what is actually we're doing in China market about the cross-border e-commerce, O2O business model, and the traditional retailing actually. So let's go to the cross-border e-commerce. People, they don't really understand about cross-border because e-commerce in China now is super popular. It's a mainstream business model in China because so many products, they're from outside of the country, so they can't really enter China in a very short period of time because high cost of the registration, long duration. So in that case, we try with e-commerce first. So how is the advantage and disadvantage of the e-commerce we can see here? The first one is without officially cosmetics registration process, so you save at least a year to enter China market. And the second is less risky to test a new market. Imagine you never tried the market in China before, and then you spend a lot of money and a lot of time to enter China market. But probably after half year or 1 year testing, you find out, okay, this is not the market for me. But you spend a lot. You invest your time, you invest your money. In the end, it's not good result. So we don't recommend that really for the first step, enter China market with a legal way, registration way. And the third one is about door-to-door delivery because people are going to ask, how does the logistic system works in China? So for example, I want to buy online. When can I receive it? Previously, we used the warehouse in Hong Kong. That's a long duration process because it takes around 7 days to 21 days for delivery because it's long term. But lately, we switched to the bonded house in China mainland, in the Hangzhou city. It's right next to Shanghai the city. It's a beautiful city. So in that city, from the bonded warehouse, we ship from the bonded warehouse to the customer a house. It only takes 3 to 5 days. So basically, it's reduce a lot of time for the transportation. So we increase the customer service. They feel happy because they have the product very soon. And the last part, less fixed costs compared to retailing business model. The retailing business model, I'm talking about traditional. You don't have to pay for the rental. You don't have to pay for the promotion. So in general, you don't have to pay too much for the beginning. But still, we have some disadvantage of the e-commerce. as you can see, long duration of door-to-door delivery, but luckily we solved this problem. But I mean, for the rest of e-commerce business model, they still have this problem, like a long duration. Because sometimes for the rep book, they take like a month to deliver the products from the warehouse to the consumer's house. It's a really long time. And the second one, not allowed to sell at offline boutique. Because when you do online, because perfume, the fragrance itself, it takes time to experience. You have to try. So without trying, without experience, then it's hard to boost like a very high and very like a crazy amount of like sales in terms of sales perspective. So that's the kind of like a drawback of the online e-commerce. And O2O, I have to explain a bit like O2O. What is actually O2O? So offline to online and online to offline. The first online, it means cross-border e-commerce. So we have our online shop and our online website channels. And offline means our experience center is actual boutique. But this boutique is more like a showroom. You can experience in the boutique, but you cannot buy from the boutique. So that's the difference between like experience center and retailing, like traditional retailing. So what's going on like between the online and the offline? How we actually operate the online to offline, the offline to online. So the first one is like a mutual attract traffic between offline and online, because we have different target group for online and offline. Because sometimes offline on the boutique is like a nature traffic, like tourists, so they actually not really follow us online. They never heard about us online. So when they enter our shop, we can instruct them and we can guide them to follow our subscription channel and also online shop online. So basically we have more fans, more followers on the online subscription channel. But also online to offline, because people buying and purchase product online, they want to try sometimes from the other products for the other scents. So they can easily go to our offline boutiques to try. So it's basically like a reversal, so like it's a switch way. And also like online, but one advantage for online is like in the short period of time, you can boost the sales. Later, I'm going to show a case study here today, like a very true record we made like from last year. And the third one, like offline, could remedy and reinforce customer experience process, because people have to try from the top node to middle node to base node. So this is a good way how we actually educate them. But also, like for offline, we also offer salon events. People can try, we share the story, we create some interaction between customer and us and perfume, so three-party together. But still, for the corns, this is only for offline, like a limitation of the sales, because a lot of people, when they enter our shop, they really desire and really eager, can I have this bottle now? I said, sorry, you can't really have it now, because we have to ship from the warehouse to you. If you take it from here, then it's become illegal. So we can't really allow that to happen. So that's our principle, we don't really do that. So yeah, this is actually the picture, and also some event picture showing like from our boutique in Shanghai. The top two is like the Minahite you can see, and also the right one is the presentation. All the furniture, all the display, everything is real antique. It's from 18th to 20th century. It's real antique. Because like from Minahite, like underline, you can see a subtitle is a bit tiny now, but I can read for you. It's a 1900 edition, because we believe by 20th century, 1900, this year is the best year for niche perfume industry. So we think this is there is something we have to share to customer. Like we want to create kind of like atmosphere, a kind of environment they can feel what it actually means, like a niche. So we don't want to build like a really modern and really like a new like style. So we want to go back to the vintage style. And then the bottom two, like pictures, is about the events. So we host events a lot in our boutique. Sometimes like, mostly sometimes like 10 times to 12 times per month. So weekly 2-3 times, normally in the evening. And our target group only with 10 to 15 people. We don't go for more, like no more than 20. Because if you have more people, it's gonna be really hard and difficult for us to interact with them. So we want them to join us. They talk more than we do, actually. So yeah, traditional retailing, this is the part like actually a lot of brands really interested about. And also like I can see from Europe, because I work in this industry for roughly around 7 years, and the more conservative, they really want to have a boutique in China, but it's really hard. But luckily, Song have mentioned previously, we have a third company just like launched like this January 2018. It's called Shaode Trade. This company is like going to help all the brands to enter China market with the legal way, like for the registration, for the shopping mall, like negotiation, and also for the whole process. We're going to help you. So traditional retailing, we go for the high-end shopping mall and department store. So sometimes we go for boutique, sometimes we go for corners. So it really depends on the perfume brand, also depends on the brand awareness. So still, like we have pro and cons. Let's see the pro of the traditional retailing in China. So apparently, rapidly boost the offline sales. As you can see the data from the estimated sales revenue from the Diptyque from 2014 to 2018, it's a crazy number. It's going up, keep going up. It's non-stop. And the second one is high purchasing power. What does means high purchasing power? Because China, a lot of people, they have a kind of stereotype, like Chinese people love luxury products. They come to Europe, they go to Hong Kong, they buy luxury like shopping like in the supermarket. It's super easy, but not all of them. High purchasing power is basically means people like the consumption upgrading, because people, they understand more about the brand itself than before. Previously, they go for logo, they go for brand, but now they focus more on quality, more go for the content. So they focus more insight of the products, not like the brand itself. Because perfume is something different. You can't really see the logo when you spray or wear the perfume on you. So this is something different. That's why I believe the high purchasing power in China now, and combined with the consumption upgrading, so the two things combined together, is a really great time to enter China market at this moment. So the third one is about experience and purchase at the same time. That's a really good benefit for traditional retailing. Because as I mentioned before, people, they want to buy after they try, like immediately at the same time. But they could not buy because we are only experience center. But now, with traditional retailing store, they could buy it immediately. So when they smell it, if you're good, okay, you just take it, pay the cash, then go. So easy for them. And number 4. Diversity opportunities of offline sales events, because in China it's really important to share your brand, to create a brand awareness, to enhance your brand image, but by what kind of way? Online is a very important way, but offline is also very important. So by events, what kind of events? Like PR events, salon events, a lot of events. So people, they can actually experience, like really into this game, so they can feel what are you doing actually at this moment for this brand. So it's very high, a high efficient way to promote the brand offline, but it's costly. This is a kind of drawback. And average revenue is higher than online, because previously I mentioned like online, they can have kind of limitation. People could not try. This is something really big limitation, but we actually solve this problem. We kind of create called experience card, like scent card. So the card is actually can remain for 7 days. So you can actually purchase the scent card. You can choose the scent, so you can buy it. And later when you think, okay, this is the good scent I want to buy, so they can go for the big bottle and we refund the scent card. So it's a free trial, actually. So we help them to solve the problem by the limitation of the distance or different cities. So that's something we create already. And high demand from China consumer. How we call it high demand, because first, you all know like perfume, this kind of category and industry in China now still remain like an introduction stage for the marketing perspective. It's really on the introduction, because people, they don't really use that back to 20 years ago or 10 years ago. It's not like for daily. Not everybody uses it. It's only part of people, they want to use it because they might went abroad before. They might have some Western, might have some high level, how do you call, lifestyle. But now it's different. This is a bit like a cafe, like coffee market in China back to 20 years ago. So when coffee first entered China market, it's a disaster. Nobody loved coffee. It tastes really bitter. For me as well. Like first time I tried coffee, what is that? It's like crazy. But after years by years, people, they being cultivated, they being educated. So they learn more about the coffee, the culture, and the product itself. Now it's crazy in China. Each city have more than 1,000 stores, like a cafe in China. Each city is crazy. Like they have Starbucks, Costa, this is like chain store, but they also have kind of like boutique, really like handmade coffee shop. So it's amazing in China. So back to perfume, I believe now is the best time to introduce this kind of culture and product to Chinese consumer. And after 5 years, after 10 years, I believe Chinese people are going to use perfume like people who lived here. So it's kind of like in your daily life. But still, we have some comp for the traditional retailing business model. First one, long duration of cosmetics registration takes at least like a year. And the second one, costly for the whole process of enter China market. Because despite of like the number I show you, 1,200 euro, 1,200 euro like for each registration, but also you have to pay the tax when you enter China market. And how much for the tax? It's roughly around 50 to 60%. It's a very high tax for China. So also for the warehouse, for the rental, for everything, it's a really huge amount of money to invest for this kind of retailing business model in China. As well, like high risk without testing market in advance, so I have mentioned before. And high management fees and fixed costs. So in general, we have like, but I can see still pro are more than cons. So I think it's a good business model, but you have to make sure your brand and your scent, your fragrances fit this market. Then go for this way. If your brand is not really fit this market, don't try because it's gonna fail so hard. And then it's gonna cost you a lot of money and time. Yeah. And there's one attention actually I wanna share. It's not really against any other platform, but this is the kind of fact. The fact we have found from the past few years. So the first one is called Taobao.com. This platform, they have two kind of mode. The first one is like everybody can open a shop on Taobao. Everybody, like even like normal people. So they can open a shop on Taobao. But also they have a second one, it's called Tmall. Tmall is more professional. It's only for the brands. So Tmall Global is for e-commerce. But like for people who open shop by themselves, this is more like a bit smuggling, you know, because they don't pay the tax. They don't pay for the logistic fees. Most of them, they bring the product personally from here to China. So it's a bit like smuggle. So in this way, it's really high risk. You don't do that because in this way, it's a bit like damage your brand. Because brand image is the most important thing to all brands, especially niche. You want to remain and then to keep your brand image always in the positive way and good way, like the way you want to present in everywhere in the world. So in this way, you have to be really careful. So, of course, like they are late of the meeting the requirement of China custom policy. This way, I don't recommend. So if you find out your products on Taobao, you can actually try some way to prevent this gonna happen. So damage the brand image I have mentioned, and also the last one, also a very important one, disturb the market price in the national scale, also international scale. How is that gonna happen? Because, as I mentioned, they don't really pay tax. They don't pay for the transportation. They don't pay basically all the costs we have paid. That's why they don't have high cost. They can sell very low price on Taobao. We can't really define is that real or not real. I can't really say, but I mean the price is extremely low. So in that case, people do wonder, okay, why the price on Taobao is so much cheaper than the price in the retailing shop or another platform? This is a kind of like, you know, tricky way. So people, they will think, because Taobao, they have a lot of like uses in China. So this is something you have to really keep in your mind. So like the second one, that's why I'm going to point out the second thing I want everybody have to keep in mind is about the pricing strategy. So based on our experience, you better based on original price. If you have distributor outside the country where you're from, you better remain the same price or increase the price. No matter how many percentage, please increase it. Because the tax, because warehouse, because all the management fees. So they have to increase a bit to maintain the profit. But that's for the second reason. The first reason, you have to make sure your price is on the good stage. It's not lower. There's actually a case study I want to show. Like I want to share it to everybody. Like we have one brand, acting brand in China, but our consumers, like our fans, they found out there's some like price in Dubai is cheaper than anywhere else like in the world. So they, as a group, they go there, they buy the products from Dubai instead of buying in China. I was like shocked, how's that happen? And then they told us, yeah, it's so much cheaper. And when I saw the price, they are 30% cheaper than the retailing price in Europe. That's crazy. I can't believe that's actually happened. So I told the brand owner, so they actually investigate these things already. So make sure the pricing strategy is really important rules for the rest of the world. Yeah. Yeah, case study, the most exciting part. So luckily, the two brands owner also here today. So later, I'm gonna ask them to share a bit about the experience how to enter China market. The first one is Epsu. This is a perfume. it's a more like green note, like a fresh cut grass. It's more like fresh note. So we actually prepared a long time for the online promotion, the events. So we made a record. The first record is like 500 bottles was sold out around 2 weeks. And then remaining like 6 months, we sold out 4,000 bottles. So it's a big sales actually for online, for a perfume, niche perfume business. And I believe so far we already ordered around roughly 6,000 to 8,000 pieces. I can't remember the exact number, but roughly like this number. That's for the first brand. The second one is the Fig Tea. It's from Nikolai. And this brand, we also make a record. It's really high records. It's like, it's happened like 2-3 months ago. We sold out 1,000 bottles in 10 days. And then remaining 40 days, we sold out 2,000 bottles, only online, no offline. But we combine with some offline events. So you can see the two big numbers you can see, because it's a crazy number for a niche perfume brand for like a very short period of time. That's why I mentioned before, online can boost the sales for a short period of time, but they could not last for really long, you know, because it's like only for temporary. We have to remake and re-prepare all the promotion event, whatever. So it takes a long time and a lot of effort and money and a budget. So it's not easy to make this way, but we took a lot of effort. But I'm so happy it happens. And offline events, of course, I mentioned previously, like you can see from the picture, we host like events like 10 times, 20, like 10 to 13 times per month. Like weekly, we host like 2-3 times. So who is our actually target group? And also co-branding, you can see this is the group like we have worked before, and they are actually our target group. It's a Harvard Business School alumni group. There's a big group of our purchase, like it's our audience and also our like consumers, very nice consumers. And also we work with some like high-end jewelry brand. Their customer and our customer share similar, you know, like interest when they buy something in their life. That's why when they buy high-end jewelry brand, they're also interested about high-end perfume. So that's why we combine together to co-branding like a niche perfume and jewelry. Also, we work with bank as well, like DBS Bank, SCB Bank, and also with hotel, like Waldorf Hotel in China as well. So you can see our consumer. A lot of people ask, like, so how do you target your group? What's your target group? So most of the time I say, our target group and our customer, they are a bunch of people who have a good attitude toward their life, because they really know how to live a better life. And also, they have a better purchasing power than normal, because our target is not never students. It's more like people who work already for a few years already. So they know better, but they also have better purchasing power. So yeah, in general, that's the case study. And thank you very much for today being here. So I'm so glad to be here to share all the information. Thank you. For more by the way, like there's an envelope under the seat, so everybody could have one. Inside the envelope is like one USB reader, so it's about our company introduction. Also one business card about our colleague Patrick. He's in charge of the marketing part, so if you have any interest, please contact him. So thank you again. Sorry, I forgot one very important thing. Like two very important friends of us, also our like partner, like Uli. This is like from the brand Oishlam. So I would like he share a bit about his experience about his product in China.
Well, thank you. Hello, can everybody hear me? Thank you, Xinxin, for the great presentation. I'm very happy to be partners with SendPage and your company and Jessica's company. I have to say, like, you know, this caught me completely off guard. You know, this is a huge success for my brand because it's our first step into the Asian market, and we decidedly like wanted to go into China because it's, you know, it's the most important market for luxury right now. But I didn't know the dimensions, you know, when we first entered. So I have to say, like, and I have to give credit to the team to really, really select the brands that they, you know, really want to bring on. I think that's a really very important part of their success. They really evaluate, you know, what's going to come into the store, what's going to be sold online, etc. And then really like carefully monitoring, you know, what can turn into a success. And for me, as a small brand, like, of course, like, you know, this was not an easy journey, as, you know, you can attest. You know, we were not prepared for this kind of quantity, but, so, you know, step by step, like, you know, we were able to remedy the situation, and we're just, like, you know, really excited to be part of a brand new movement, you know, initiated by you in China, and the years to come, really, you know. I think this is also, like, very important, like, you know, that we clicked. And I think we really, like, you know, have a harmonious relationship. And really, like, you know, if there's glitches, if there's problems, like, you know, they're here to help. They will tell you and guide you. And, you know, I think one of the most important parts for me was actually to go to Shanghai and see, like, this beautiful setup of minorité and, you know, how you treat the business in China. It's really, like, important for me. Have you any questions regarding, you know, entering the market? Sarah. What's your question? Oh.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question. How did you find out about this this service, or whatever you call yourself? Yeah.
How did I find out? Oh. Well, basically, like, you know, at the traditional fairs, and then, you know, we met initially, I think, it was either Florence or Esxence, like, or both, you know, like, you know, since there's a 6-month time lag in between both fairs, you know, we get to see each other, you know, all the time. But then also, like, you know, my initial experience was, like, you know, we started small, and then just because of, like, you know, what happened in China, you know, we adjusted the quantities step by step. But initially, like, you know, this was like, you know, a client like everybody else. Like, you know, everybody, you know, I treat everybody the same. And, you know, we just, like, figured out, like, this is going to become a very strong relationship. Any other questions? But I think, you know, if you look at the full picture, I think, you know, there's very competent partners because they really know how, you know, to market and how to analyze and how to smell their fragrances, and really, like, have a vital interest, a visceral interest, basically, like, in fragrance. And I think that makes all the difference. And, you know, I think one of the beautiful things is it's really a focus on niche. There's no, like, you know, let's not bring on prestige and, like, you know, let's not dilute the whole game. It's really, like, you know, it's one step at a time, and I think they're really, like, very smart at what they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the second special guest for today is Excel. It's like from Nikolai.
Okay, well, thank you, Xinxin, for your invitation. No, we are very happy also. We met also in this kind of exhibitions. And we decided to move forward, and we thought it was a good idea to make a test before actually launching the brand, because as we've been explained, it's a really long process to register the brand. It takes almost a year, and it's a high cost. And we are really happy with the feedback. I mean, in our case, with Nikolai, our brand is already present in Asia, because we are in the South Korean market. We've been there for the last 3 years and very successful. And I think it helped the test. We're so happy with the results that you've seen earlier. Almost 3,000 bottles sold in a few weeks. So now we are very confident in the future, and we're really happy to have met the ScentPage team that are very professional, and they know they taught us a lot about how to enter the Chinese market.
Oh, by the way, like Nikolai is also one brand. We actually helped this brand to enter China market. So by the end of this year, it's going to be the first like Nikolai boutique in China. It's going to be in the shopping mall. So it's coming very soon. And the other brand is called Liquid Imaginaire. This brand, like, we already found one shopping mall, and we also almost finished for the registration process. So the first shop and boutique for Liquid Imaginaire going to be open by this year, the end of October. So like 2 brands are going to officially enter China market as a niche brand.
And we'll be really happy to come back next year and tell you how the launch.
No problem. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Axel. Nice to meet you.
So that's cool.